Hi, I'm Karen Rice and welcome to this Blossom Trees step-by-step watercolour painting tutorial. I'm going to be using lots of exciting techniques, sponging, salt and spattering. I've drawn the composition with an HB pencil. All of the materials I'm using will be in the description below with Amazon links if you'd like to purchase any of them. I'm using 4 colours listed here with alternatives. I've mixed up my colours and I'm wetting the paper. My first stage will be wet in wet. I've mixed up a puddle of Quinacridone Magenta, a puddle of Phthalo blue, Hansa yellow light with a touch of the Phthalo blue, and the 4th colour is the pink, the yellow and the indigo, a very watered down wash which I'll use for the path. So once your paper has been soaked with water, clean water, I'm using my size 10 round brush and I'm just dropping it into the blossom area of the painting, wet in wet. Don't be afraid of just really going for it at this stage. The blossoms, after all, are the focal point of this painting, and I'm also putting them on the ground. It isn't actually in the photograph, but I'm using a little bit of artistic license. I've also removed the bench and the lady sitting on the bench as well, just to keep everything really simple. I've rinsed my brush and now I'm painting the light green in the horizon with the size 10 brush, and now I'm dropping this colour into the pink. Make sure you keep getting fresh paint because otherwise you'll end up with a brownish colour. And now I'm putting a lighter green and doing the same thing on the right hand side. I've mixed up a little bit of the more phthalo blue with the yellow and dropping this slightly more creamier colour damp into the grass area. I'm painting the path now, wet into wet. This is a very neutral colour, and now I'm putting the phthalo blue into the sky area and a little on the path as well, wet into wet, and just adding a little bit more of that neutral colour. I'm using a damp natural sponge and sponging in creamy Quinacridone Magenta, damp into damp in the blossom area of the sky and a little bit on the ground and on the path, wet into wet on the path. And now I'm painting damp into damp again, a slightly creamier mixture of the Quinacridone Magenta onto the sky area and onto the grass. And now I am sponging some light green, creamy light green, onto the blossom area of the sky and mixing up a slightly darker shade just to give it a little bit more tonal value. And that's with the Hansa yellow light with a touch more of the phthalo blue. And now I'm sprinkling some table salt onto the damp surface. I'm going to let that dry naturally, so don't blow dry this because the salt won't absorb the paint to create those lovely light textures. Once your painting is dry, brush off the salt with your kitchen towel. I'm putting a slightly stronger green in the background for some background trees with the phthalo blue and the Hansa yellow light. I've mixed up a creamier wash of the phthalo blue with the yellow and painting that damp into damp at the base of the trees. I'm actually sponging in now a little bit of the Quinacridone Magenta at the bottom of those trees. These are the distant trees. I've made a slightly darker, creamier wash with the foreground blossom and the middle distance blossom. When you sponge, just sponge very, very gently. And I mixed up a little bit of the phthalo blue now with this pink and putting in some darker tones into the blossom. For longer videos with lots more voiceover and discussion about colour mixing, why not think about joining my Patreon channel membership? Just click on the link in the right hand corner, it'll give you lots more details, or message me in the comments section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, back to the painting. I'm using a size 6 brush and painting the tree trunks and branches. I lifted out a little bit of paint there to show the lights coming from the left, and I'm painting now wet on dry with indigo with a touch of pink, and I'll be turning the painting upside down to make it easier as well. And you can swap to a size 2 brush if you feel more comfortable. distant trees, you might want to water down your wash a little just to create some distance in tonal value. I'm using the tip of my brush here just to paint those distant trees in with the indigo with a touch of Quinacridone Magenta. I'm going to use this same colour wet on dry just to show the path, the edge of the path, just to, you know, lead your eye into the distance there. And I'm painting the little dog. There's a couple of little dogs there, but I'm painting them with that indigo and Quinacridone Magenta wet on dry. Try not to worry too much, just keep it really nice and simple and try not to make it too dark. I'm just drawing in some of the very smaller, thinner branches now, using my twig and dipping it into a puddle of paint. And it's quite nice and relaxing as you can just go for it. If you don't want to use a twig, you can just use a liner brush or a rigger brush. I've allowed my painting to dry and I'm sponging again now on top of the blossom, a slightly darker colour with the magenta and the indigo, and just putting some darker tonal values. You can see that in the reference photograph as well. I've just watered down the magenta and indigo and I'm painting some shadows from these trees. Now you can't see this very well in the photograph, but I thought if the light's coming from the left, we can create some shadows on the right using this diluted colour, and it does really bring the painting to life as well. And even though it's not again in the photograph, I'm actually using my size 6 brush and painting an imaginary tree to the left here with its cast shadow, and it really adds something to the composition. I've added a little bit of this diluted colour wet on dry to the distance as well. It really gives the painting some depth. I've added a little bit of white gouache to the pink and I'm just putting on some pale colours with the sponge wet on dry. Just sometimes if you lose your light on the blossom, you can do this. So I'm just being really careful and sponging some light blossom here and there on the trees and on the ground. As you know, I love to have a little spatter, so I'm spattering with my size 6 brush some of that milky white pinky colour all over the painting, on the ground, in the trees, just to give it a little sparkle and just to finish off the painting. I really hope you've enjoyed this step-by-step tutorial, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, why not subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.